17 was the first time I had realized that maybe Bill Gothard wasn't a Bible teacher. And that's basically where it started. But in a nutshell, it was based on fear, superstition, really leaving you in a place where you feel like, I don't know what God expects of me. With modesty, right? Like I thought that I had to wear dresses only to be pleasing to God.
Hey everyone, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It's Wednesday, January 18th, 2023, and I hope you're having a wonderful day. I am, as expected, told you this week that Ginger's book is coming out. Jinger Duggar Volo's book is coming out at the end of this month. And as expected, I knew that there would be interviews happening, and she just released an interview with People magazine, which will be in their upcoming issue this week. Jinger also had a video conference or a video interview with People, which was published on People's magazine's YouTube page. The interview, she dives into a lot of different topics and is pretty high level, but gives you an inside peek into what she might be talking about in her new book. And it's the first time we actually hear her speak about her brother Josh. We also hear for the first time what it felt like for her to grow up under all of the rules of Bill Gothard, and to have her publicly call out Bill Gothard and really have her goal of being to help free people that might still be stuck in this mindset. She also speaks for the first time about her brother Josh and what her thoughts are about Anna and moving forward. It's a 14-minute interview, but there was pieces of the interview that are not actually in the video that were also in the article that's on peoplemagazine.com. And in the article, she, for the first time, calls the group cult-like, which is a big step forward because nobody in this family has ever used that terminology outside of Amy Duggar King. And really, it's the first time you have one of the girls that was most prominently featured on the show denounce the teachings that made the show famous and all of the topics that they constantly honed in on. She brings up in this interview. So it's good to see her taking a step forward, and we're going to talk a little bit about some of the revelations that she made in this interview that she gave to People magazine. So before we dive into today's topic, one housekeeping item is I did a post on my community tab that goes through all the different abbreviations that I use on this channel. A lot of you have questions about the different various abbreviations I use in lieu of using a full word, and I put a post up for the reasons why I do this and some of the most common abbreviations that I use, which will hopefully help you understand why I do what I do for this channel. Next, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, make sure that you do. Could you please hit the subscribe button down there? Also, make sure to click on the bell so you can get all the latest notifications for when new content loads. If you have something to say, please make sure to leave a comment, and as always, keep them as friendly as possible, and share this video with your friends. So the new articles by People and the 14-minute interviewed video are pretty interesting because Jinger dives into right off the bat about how what she grew up in under the IBLP was damaging and had a lot of harmful, lasting effects, not only on her life, but on the lives of the people that she loves and her friends. Jinger said that this all stems from having learned from Ben that there's a different way for her to learn and think about the Bible, because when she grew up in a home where everything was black and white and everything had to be done a certain way and everyone behaved the same. So because there was no questioning and no thinking outside of the box, she said she grew up under rules that made her feel like she was fearful, constantly leading to crippling anxiety. She also said it made her feel like she was threatened to leave. Now, she did mention threatened to leave Jesus, but it makes you question what she means by threatened. Is it the rules, or was it the way that it was enforced under her home, under her father, Jim Bob Duggar? So in the very first clip I'll show you, I'll have her describe in her own words some of the rules that she lived under the IBLP, and how they made her feel.
My life was with modesty, right? Like I thought that I had to wear dresses only to be pleasing to God. And if I step outside of, I think is expected of me because he said, oh, you're only supposed to wear skirts or dresses no matter what activity you're doing, right? So if I stepped outside of that, God's going to be so displeased with me, and it could bring harm on myself unnecessarily, like in financial trouble if I stepped outside of these.
This is really interesting, the words that she used here, because yes, there are rules in the IBLP about clothing, and they have rules about like if you disobey, say your father, and you're not under his umbrella of authority, then there's this like wickedness that can come over you, and it can be akin to witchcraft, and it can mean that you go through and go to damnation. So, and you're sent to hell, or you're a rebel, and so by rebelling, you're going into a place where you will go to hell. That's the fear that she probably is talking about, and the crippling anxiety, because if I step out of this, something bad is going to happen to me. I'm worried that something is going to harm me. Now, it's interesting that she brings up the financial piece, because she says that something financially could happen to me. Like I might find myself in a bad financial situation. I don't particularly think this is about the IBLP. While financially, there are aspects where they have the financial, they have this whole seminar about financial freedom and not being in debt, and that, following rules is good for finances. I do think probably the financial part is not just the IBLP, but the way that Jim Bob might have used his authority as a parent to make her feel like if she didn't follow rules, her finances would be a mess. And I think that's something that he does to all of his kids. Bill Gothard's teachings are terrible, but Jim Bob has taken things to another degree of just depravity with how he controls his children with the finances. I don't think she'll ever vocally say that it was her father that was doing that, but that's just my estimation based on how he controls the kids with finances.
Places I go, music I listen to with drums could bring harm on me. Friendships that may not be right in line with my bubble in his teachings, people who are outside of Gothard's teachings, could bring harm on me if I was too close to them.
I think you've heard me say on this channel that one of the things that if you were to see the Duggars out in the wild, we call it the wild, like, when you see someone in the wild, like in whatever. If you were to see them out there, they might say hi to you, but this idea that they might interact with you and even take interest in who you are, it doesn't happen because of what Jinger said. Like there's this extensive fear of outsiders, and in my opinion that is by design to keep people trapped underneath these rules, which benefit the patriarch and Bill Gothard and the leaders of the IBLP. So if everyone is afraid of what anyone else says outside of them, and they're told that people outside of them are harmful, they're less likely to acknowledge that things are bad. They're less likely to go and seek help. They're less likely to report things to police. They're less likely to seek counseling. They're less likely to seek alternative methods. And it also entraps them in a system where if they do go out of that system and they do feel like something harmful is going to happen to them, then they're going to be too afraid to do anything if something bad happens to them, and they won't ever be exposed to outside ideas that tell them and teach them that what they're learning isn't actually true. And so if you keep people in this bubble, as she called it, you can keep people trapped. And it's when people get outside of that bubble and they realize, wait a minute, there's a way different way of learning and seeing things and doing this world. It's not just this way. You lose control of people. And that's the success of how cult leaders keep people inside of their cults, by controlling information, access to information, and making people inside paranoid of outsiders. It's us against them. So she's broken free of that. And when she talked about her daughters later on in the interview, she actually said that she wants her daughters to be exposed to all different kinds of people. She doesn't want them to be just exposed to like one specific type of person. She doesn't expect people to live in a cookie cutter way, and that the diversity and being exposed to different ways of thinking will help all of them grow. So she doesn't want to repeat keeping her children insulated the way that she was insulated as a child, which is great and an amazing first step. She also discusses courtship.
These things that I'd set up for myself that now I kind of laugh Honestly, I'm like, that's so crazy that I used to believe that that was the only way to success in life. Consumed with that, like with having a chaperone, with not kissing before you're married, and not holding hands before you're engaged. All of these.
So the rules that they instituted in their house about kissing, holding hands, chaperones, all of that, which I believe is a direct result of Josh and what he did to his sisters and trying to control and mitigate risk in the family. I think a lot of their rules sprung out of what Josh was doing. They had been involved in the ATI, but I think they became more and more extreme the further Josh got into his deviance in many ways. So for her to say that like these were things that I set up, I think her parents set up and then she followed that, and she doesn't have to follow that anymore. So she doesn't believe in courtship. And she even said that she has friends that have gone through dating and they've been like very successful in lives and have had multiple boyfriends and girlfriends, you know? So this idea simply that you can't date and that you're setting yourself up for failure, she says, is a wrong belief. You know, she has a lot to say about alcohol. Like she went on to talk about how she, you know, personally doesn't drink alcohol, but she understands that it's not the way it was described by the ATI. And so Jesus turned water into wine, and they say that alcohol is not a sin, but drunkenness can be problematic for people. And so for her, she doesn't drink, but she doesn't judge people that do. And if people want to drink in their Christian life, she's fine with that. So there's a lot of ways where she's evolving in her beliefs, which is kind of mirroring her sister Jill. Jill does drink alcohol and Jinger does not. So they're a little bit different in that. But it might explain why Jeremy has maybe been seen out with a cocktail here and there. So maybe Jeremy will partake at times. I'm not sure. She had a lot to say when it comes to all these different rules and what it's like to live under. And it's a lot of it is framed around Bill Gothard. And it's hard as a listener to not think that some of this, while it's not about directly her parents, it is about directly her parents, because these are the rules and the method that her parents made the decision to live under and have their children live under as they raise their children. She discussed there's, you know, her parents and her are at very different places in how they think about things, and making the decision for her to wear pants was actually very challenging because they are so staunchly against that. And there's a lot of things in her life with her parents she's had to agree to disagree on because it's their journey, it's what they think, it's what they feel, and it's not what she thinks or feels about anything. And she doesn't see anything in the Bible about women not wearing pants, or she doesn't see anything in the Bible that you have to be this type of political party, or you have to think this about this topic or this or that. And she said anytime she has a question, she just goes back to the Bible to figure out what the Bible says. She's reading the Bible in a very different way. So the book interview is fascinating in that in one breath she's denouncing Gothard, and it's very hard not to believe that some of this is a denunciation of what her family believes. And I think a lot of it, she said, you know, in the very beginning, if I can help one person become freed from this, you know, I feel like that's good enough. I can't help but think that she's not thinking about some of her siblings when she talks about helping people be freed. When she talked about the 2017 transition, she actually calls it cult-like. So she said, his teachings were so harmful, I'm seeing more of the effects on that in the lives of my friends and the people who grew up in the community with me. There are a lot of cult-like tendencies, harmful in how in the effects it has on her friends and on her family and on the people that she loves and who grew up with her. Cult-like tendencies. I wonder what those cult-like tendencies are. Is it the group think? Is it the information control? Is it all of the above? Is it making you feel like everything is harmful on the outside? But she actually called it cult-like, which is a huge step. So when it comes to Josh, which she talked to about at the very, like in the kind of the middle to the end of it, this was the first time we've actually heard her talk about it publicly. Like Jeremy made a video and he put out, you know, this whole thing about, from a biblical standpoint, what his thoughts were about Josh. And he had a lot to say about repentance and what a true Christian is. And it was very, in one breath, you know, good that he's taking a stand. In another breath, there was so much about God that some people were finding themselves a little bit lost in translation. And she didn't really go there. She did in a tiny bit, but she actually directly addressed what her feelings were about Josh. And this is what she said.
It's so heartbreaking just to see the decisions my brother Josh has made. And my heart just really breaks for the victims and their families and all that they've been through. And I just pray that Josh will genuinely change one day and come to know Christ for who he is and repent.
There's a thing about the IBLP about like making a negative report. You know, they say that you're not supposed to speak badly about people and you're always supposed to think positive thoughts about people and you're not supposed to speak bad. And I can't imagine how hard it might be for a lot of the people in the Duggar family growing up in a mindset that if you say something bad that's a negative report, that you're not going to make God happy. And you have to like distance yourself from that it would still be really challenging to speak out against something like this because you've been ingrained to think that if you speak badly about someone that God's going to be unhappy and you're going to go to hell. You know, she was very uncomfortable when she said that, you know, about Josh and the decisions he's made, but she did say that she's heartbroken for the victims and their families for what they were put through. That's literally one of the only times outside of like Jill and Derek and Jeremy, really, that anyone in this family has acknowledge the victims and their families and that they're the ones that have been hurt by Josh, because Josh and Anna don't want to believe that there are victims other than Josh. So I'm sure that it's extremely hard for her. And she actually said that she has not spoken to Josh in 2 years and has no interest in speaking to him ever again if he doesn't change. You know, why go back to someone that has caused so much pain to not only you and what you went through as a child, but also pain to other people as well, and still causing pain to his children and to his wife, who won't leave him. She also had some things to say about Anna, who I must remind you, in the public, Anna is making the sisters the one to blame. You'll see that Ginger's position with Anna is a hell of a lot different, and it's a lot more graceful than the way that the sources around Anna are handling things.
And I am always here for Anna and the kids at any point that they would want to, want to like talk, or any way I could help and love on them. I know that they've just been through so much, and so I just always am here for them whenever.
This is the, I think, third Duggar family member that has offered to help Anna now. That's not inside the cult. You've had Amy Duggar offer Anna her home and help if she needs help, you know, money if she needs money, packing her up if she needs to be packed up. You've had Jill and Derek offer to help, and now you have Ginger offering to help Anna if she needs help. And that to me feels like, Anna, if you want to leave, I'm here to help you. Because Anna won't probably speak to anyone that doesn't listen to what she feels and what Josh is saying. Anyone that doesn't follow this narrative that Josh is not guilty is dangerous to Anna. And Josh has probably made Anna feel like they're all liars and can't be trusted. And so she probably believes they're liars and can't be trusted. So it would be almost like a no-win situation to try to reach out to her. Not to mention, Anna has made it nearly impossible to be reachable to anyone that is concerned about her, because frankly, she doesn't want to hear anything other than Josh is innocent and that he's been framed, because she can't handle the truth. She's there for Anna if she needs her. Anna has decisions she needs to make, and that decision is, there are people in this family that have been willing to wake up and see that there's a different way of living. There's a different way of thinking, and there's a different way forward, and it's not the way that they grew up. And if she can't see that other people around her have made choices and they haven't gotten sent to hell, and they're not, you know, sick, and they aren't turning ugly, and they haven't lost all their money, and they're still finding a way to find success in this world, if they haven't had bad things happen to them, shouldn't that serve as a cue to Anna that there is a possibility outside of this group where you can find happiness? It might be scary, but it's still totally available. So this interview alone, I have a feeling, will upset the Duggars, because if you come out against their beliefs, you're basically implying that Jim Bob is wrong, and Jim Bob doesn't like to be made to be shameful or made to be looked like a fool in the public eye. And to call his group that he is so staunchly a part of, cult-like, harmful, dangerous, and causing lasting issues on people that leave, that's going to make Jinger an enemy to the family. So she's indirectly speaking out against her parents without speaking out against them. And it's going to be interesting to see what else we learn throughout this process as she gives more interviews and once we get the book. So tell me what your thoughts are about all of this in the comments below. Bye, guys.